All right, let's get right into it. We live in a world where we can get pretty much anything we want, whenever we want it. But there's a side to this convenience we don't often talk about. A huge, invisible gap between us, the people buying stuff, and the people who are actually making it all.
Seriously, think about it. The shirt on your back right now. Do you have any clue who made it? Or the coffee you had this morning? Or the phone you're probably holding? For almost all of us, the answer is nope, not a clue. And that simple no is the exact disconnect we're going to explore.
And this visual really says it all, doesn't it? Back in a smaller community, the relationship was direct. It was a two-way street between the maker and the buyer. But look at our society now. It's this long, complicated chain. Producer, corporation, shipper, retailer, and then, finally, us. And in all those steps, a whole lot gets lost.
So, why does any of this matter? Well, because this separation isn't just some abstract business flowchart. It has real, actual consequences, costs that are hidden from us, things you'll never, ever see on a price tag.
Let's start with something most of us can relate to. You're at the grocery store, you head over to the meat counter, you grab a package for dinner. It's all neatly wrapped, clean, convenient, and totally, completely removed from where it actually came from.
And that's really the first hidden cost, isn't it? That distance, both physical and psychological, means we're shielded from the reality of the process. And the source material points out that if we actually saw the conditions these animals are often raised in, well, most of us would probably find it completely unacceptable.
Now, to be super clear, this isn't about telling you what you should or shouldn't eat. That's not the point. The point is about awareness. This disconnect makes it so we don't even think to ask the question, how is this made? What's the story behind it?
Okay, let's look at another example. Just take in this number for a second. 250,000. What on earth could that be?
It's just devastating. 250,000 Indian cotton farmers have taken their own lives. Many of them were caught in this impossible cycle of debt, a cycle tied directly to the economics of genetically modified cotton, the very same cotton that could be in that t-shirt we were just talking about. It's a massive human tragedy, completely hidden inside a supply chain that we're all a part of.
So are these global systems just evil? The sources we're looking at argue that it's a bit more complicated than that. These massive systems, whether it's factory farming or globalized agriculture, didn't just appear out of thin air. They grew to meet our demand, the demand of billions of people for cheap, easy, and abundant goods. They're kind of the engine our whole consumer world runs on.
This disconnect doesn't just hide problems in the supply chain. It's actually changing how we live and interact with each other. It comes with a really deep social cost, one that's kind of hollowing out our own culture.
It creates this weird psychological state called ethical dissonance. All that means is it's the gap where our actions don't line up with our values. It's where we end up supporting things that we'd actually be horrified by if we only knew the full story. And this massive gap between producer and consumer, it's the perfect breeding ground for it. But let's go back to that small community idea again. In that setting, any problems are right there in front of you. You can see them. You can walk over and talk directly to the person responsible. With that kind of transparency, this whole idea of ethical dissonance just can't really exist.
And here's where it really hits home. When we can get everything we need from some faceless, faraway corporation, we lose the need to interact deeply with the people around us. Our own neighbors, our own local communities, they become less and less essential to our daily lives. I mean, this slide just nails the shift. We've gone from a world of intimate dependence, where you actually needed your neighbors for food, for services, for survival, to a world where our main economic interaction is a polite but pretty meaningless exchange with a cashier. The real substance of community has been swapped out for the efficiency of a transaction.
Okay, so we've laid out a pretty big, complex problem. The obvious question is, what do we do about it? Well, the source material does suggest there's a path forward. The core idea is actually really simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. What if, instead of sending all of our resources, our money, our attention, out to these distant corporate giants, we made a conscious choice to redirect it, to reinvest it right back here, in our own local communities? So if this whole disconnect thing is something you feel is a problem, the source lays out this kind of four-step path. First, you just have to acknowledge the consequences, see the problem for what it is. Then you make a personal choice to do things differently. The third step is the action, actually shifting your support locally. And finally, you get actively involved in that smaller, community-focused world. And look, this doesn't have to be some massive, life-altering change you make overnight. It can look like planting a small garden,
or just deciding to go to the local farmer's market once a week. It's about taking these small steps to actually know the people who make your stuff, and in the process, start to intentionally rebuild a little bit of that healthy community dependence.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Just imagine that was the rule. You couldn't buy anything unless you knew or could at least meet the person who made it. What would you keep buying? What would you have to give up? And what would your life and your community really look like then?